Hi, welcome to today's notes. Today's notes are inequality properties and literal inequalities. I'm going to let you guys know right now, notes that are going to help you with this are going to be your properties notes from Unit 0. Okay, so I'm going to write this at the top, that notes from properties in Unit 0. And then we can double check those notes when I see you next in class so you know what exactly I'm talking about. But it's the one that we talked about with inverse property, identity property, transitive property, etc. I'm going to do a quick review on some of our properties before we get into today's notes. We have the addition property of inequality, okay? And so it's just like addition property of equality, except, you know, it's an inequality. But if you add to one side, you have to add to the other to keep the inequality true. And the same is going to be true for like the subtraction property of inequality falls into this category as well. Then we have the multiplication property of an inequality. And this, notice that I underlined the word positive because you guys know that if we multiply both sides by negative, the sign does flip. So it's one of those, if we do it to one side, we do it to the other, again, for positive real numbers. And same thing, this will work for the division property of inequalities. And then we have the transitive property. The transitive property, it's similar to substitution. It's just not a direct substitution. So if we have A equals B, then B equals C, then A equals C for all real numbers. And I now just realized I was saying equal when I should have said greater than. But again, it's substitution where we have if A is greater than B and B is greater than C, we are using where we're going to substitute out the B, so A is greater than C. You'll find that we end up using this transitive property a lot more in these notes and homework, okay? So just be aware of that. So what we're going to be practicing today is using these properties to prove each step, okay? When you get further along in your math career, you're going to have to do more proofs, and this will be very useful to get you going on that. So this is your foundation. So anyway, if A is less than B and C is less than D, then A plus C is less than B plus D. And I know that's like, what? So basically, this is what we're starting with. And then this is our goal, okay? So they're saying that if this statement is true, then this has to be true. And so what our goal right now is to make that connection. How do we go from what we start with to that part right here, okay? So I wrote the proof out, and we're going to start with, if we start with A is less than B, and then we look at what changes, we see that C is getting added to both sides. And with C getting added to both sides, we'll go ahead and say, well, it's the addition property of inequality. Okay, and then again, if we have C is less than D, then B plus C is less than B plus D. Well, this time it is B that is getting added to both sides. That's kind of the change from what we start with to our next step. Okay, and that's what we're looking for. Well, what was that change? Okay, from what we start with to that next step, and then we just put in the proof for it. And so again, it'll be addition property of inequalities. And then we come down to A plus C is less than B plus D. And the way that this one works, so we kind of have to backtrack a little bit, where we have, maybe this will be easier. I'm going to just erase a little bit. Thanks for your patience. We have A plus C, okay, is less than B plus C. Here we see B plus C again, and then we have B plus D. And so here is kind of what I start with, here is what I end with, and then this B plus C is that part that got substituted out. That's the transitive property. So this right here is transitive property getting applied. Okay, let's go ahead and try number 2. So for number 2, we have, again, we start with C is greater than 0, okay? I'm sorry, C is less than 0. And we're going to remember that in case we do have to work with a negative and flip that sign. If A is less than B, then C is less than B minus A. Okay, so this is what we're starting with. That's our goal. The following are the steps to get there. So again, this is what I start with. And then let's see what's changed. Well, what's changed is I added on the minus A. And so this right here, the proof for that is subtraction property of inequality. And then for my next step, okay, so we're going to see, okay, what's changed from that step to this step? Well, B minus A stays the same, but then I have this 0 out front. Well, how did I get that 0? Well, A minus A is 0. This is where we want to use those properties from before to realize, oh, A minus A, that's our inverse property. Okay, so let's go ahead and write down inverse property. That's where we cancel. And then our last step, okay, is, remember at the beginning we had C is less than 0. Well, right over here, we kind of have a substitution, okay, because again, B minus A stays the same. We have a bit of a substitution. We're not going to use substitution. This is our transitive property. Again, if you see something that might be substitution, you have to think about it before you just jump into transitive, but it is one that you can check, you can ask yourself. Okay, we're going to do 3 together in class, okay, because I know this stuff is challenging, so we'll do a few more together in class. We're going to do 4 together in class because, again, it's challenging. I know it's good that we talk it out and I can answer questions. We're going to do literal inequalities right now, okay, so we'll do 5 and 6 together. This is rearranging formulas, so a quick reminder on that. With inequalities, you're going to notice this, and this is going to tell you whether the A is a positive number or a negative number. So right now, I'm going to make note that A is a positive number. There we go. And so I'm going to start by rewriting my literal inequality. So AX plus B is greater than C, and then it's telling me I have to isolate X. So to isolate X, what I'm going to notice is this is similar to a 2-step equation. So I'm going to use those strategies. So I'm going to go ahead and subtract B from both sides first. When I do that, I have AX is greater than C minus B. My last step, I'm going to divide by A. When I divide by A, this is where it's important knowing that this is a positive number, is because I don't have to worry about flipping my inequality. So I'm going to write it over here because I ran out of room. X is greater than C minus B over A. Okay? That's it on number 5. Let's try number 6. On number 6, this is one where notice that A is less than 0. So A is a negative number. And we're going to, again, solve for X. So I'm going to rewrite AX plus B is greater than C. It's very similar to number 5, so this 2-step equation, we're going to use those strategies. So I'm going to subtract B on both sides first. I get AX is greater than C minus B. And then here, my final step, I'm going to divide by A. Now, this is the key thing. We marked that A is a negative number, so I need to make sure I flip that sign. So I have C minus B over A. Okay. Again, real quick, in this step, I'm going to write in, if I can, spell dividing by a number less than 0, which is a negative number, we're going to remember to flip the sign. Sorry about my sloppy handwriting. We'll do one of these together in class, so we'll do number 7 the next time I see you. Hey, and this is it for these notes. Yay, not too long. Okay, I'll see you guys later.